Jukka, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. How are you at the moment today?
How am I at the moment? I'm
Yeah.
doing all right. It's pretty well, it's not that late. It's about 7 in the evening, so I'm done with most of the things I need to do for today, so I'm just taking it easy for now.
Beginning to wind down.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. I get that. It's just gone 5 p.m. here in the UK. Still a lot to go, and I'm on night shift, so I will be up to the early hours of the morning. But Timo, yourself, how about you? How are you doing at the moment?
I'm doing good. I just, yeah, the week just started, and we got a really nice review in the morning that I checked on Facebook. That was a nice way to start the week. And well, it's been a little bit heavy because I played with this band, Jumalation, on Saturday, a couple of hours drive away from my home in Finland. We had a metal gig with four thrash metal, or no, not really. We were thrash metal, but there were different kinds of metal bands. But anyway, that was a lot of fun, and it went pretty late, so I've been needing some sleep. But I'm doing good.
I'm glad you're doing good now. Such as the party lifestyle, such as the rock star lifestyle, because of course, as well, alongside that, you've got your own stuff that's keeping you really busy. Speaking of which, as of right now, this particular point in time, we're almost at release day for Until the Lights Go Out. Timo, what is keeping you specifically busy about that release right now?
Okay, so well, there's these interviews happening, and well, actually, our bass player Tommy is probably the most busy guy because he's doing a lot of organizing of this kind of videos, small video clips for some songs and so on. And we're talking to a couple of promoter people about getting everything arranged and just trying to get this hype up and talking to everybody of like, hey, our album is coming out. So that's that's what it's about
Just
right
trying,
now.
just trying to shout as loud as possible to spread the word as wildly as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Juka, how involved do you get with this side of things, particularly from a social media standpoint?
Uh,
Do you like to kind of get on there and push and promote?
Not very honestly. I've left most social media platforms years ago. I pretty much hate them, so I try to get as uninvolved as possible. I'm just lucky the other guys in the band are doing it so that I can take it easy. I don't mind doing interviews and stuff like that with, talking to real people on some real media, but social media feels kind of it's a hard one for me.
Timo, do you feel the same about social media in general, and are you able to identify the positive aspects of it as far as promoting the band goes?
Yes. There's the positive sides of. I feel like I've had a lot more coverage for my band stuff through social media. It's been useful, but at the same time, I do understand the opinion. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of just scrolling around and seeing people have their views and so on. But for music purposes, for promoting, and for some contacts that I have, it's good.
It's that, isn't it? You know what? For all the negativity around that part, and particularly when it comes to promoting a band these days, because it's still incredibly difficult to do that, even harder nowadays if you're not paying money to do that anyway. It's still a positive that it's a way to connect somewhat with the rest of the world, from where you are in your country to say what I am and mine, and or further afield. How much experience do you have, or have you noticed where your music, the music of Freedomination, has spread further afield because of social media? Have you ever noticed anything like that? Anyone could take that.
I think, well, internet has been something that we've used, and we've had some. At this moment, there's not so much going on in our social medias. We do some postings every now and then, but it's not so much. But it's been useful for sure. We've been able to promote gigs and our releases earlier with the band through Facebook, and now we've had Instagram for a little while now, and
Mm.
we're using it a little bit. But yeah, it's been useful at some situations. Yeah.
Regardless, it's still a constant learning experience. And even if you learn an algorithm today, tomorrow that changes and you all have to start again. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But if we can at least spread the word for until the lights go out as much as humanly possible at this stage, it's worth it for that. Particularly as the last time you kind of had a release, the Stand EP, of course, in
Hmm.
2015, the world has changed significantly since then. I'm going to ask you both to have a go at this if you can. Sum up, if you can, the last decade of life within Freedomination, because it's been 10 years since the Stand EP.
The last
Okay.
decade. I can't remember the what exactly year we reformed, but we had a couple years break after the
Mhm.
stand. We
Yeah.
I'll
played. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
can say it was 2017 summer. After that, we didn't do predomination, and we started it again in 2022.
There it is.
Right, so a 5 years break. So that was a quiet time, but it was we played in another band called Demonstrator with Timo, and we actually reformed. We took one of the guys from Demonstrator to play guitar for us, Jukka, and uh, and it's been a lot better, I'd say, like musically, ever since the long break. There's
Mhm.
been personally for me that my drumming's increased or improved a lot during those break years. So it's really nice to play some of the old stuff again with a better feel and better touch. So
Timo, speaking of that hiatus, that break,
Hmm.
what was it a conscious decision at the time? Did you always go, right, we're going to stop for a little while?
It was a little bit both, I guess, if you can say that. I had this feeling that this might be it. Like I'm not maybe gonna put my mind in this band anymore. I was kind of conscious about it, but I didn't close the door, so to say. I didn't make any kind of post or announcement that we're
Mhm.
we're through, we're done. But yeah, we took a long break. I had different band projects that I was doing, and Jukka was playing in Demonstrator also. So I was very much focused on different music for that time. And then actually Jukka, who played in Demonstrator, the other guitarist, he actually brought it up that maybe we should bring this band back to life because I had been talking about it and I had riffs and melodies in my head that were meant for this band. So it just made sense that after the break, after Demonstrator, nothing happened with them anymore. It made total sense, and it was kind of clear, like, okay, this is the time. Now we're feeling like this is this is the time and place to start doing this band again.
It is interesting that, of course, like so while the break was never necessarily planned out, and you certainly didn't announce it, it didn't see either of you remove yourself from music completely. You carried on making music in other bands and doing other stuff like that, so you were always still within that world. Jukka, what was your initial feelings and response to the idea of Free Domination coming back?
it was actually it was a very casual thing. It was Timo just asked me one day, do you want to maybe play some of the old songs again? Do you want to go to the rehearsal room and try playing some of the old stuff again? And I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, sure, why not? I don't see a reason not to. I still remember most of it, so let's go ahead and play. And a few weeks later, we brought in Jukka, and it kind of just kept snowballing from there. So
I mean, it's an easy summation. It's snowball from there. But what do you mean? What does that mean? I mean, because how do we go from, hey, we're playing around, just playing the old stuff and getting a feel for it and enjoying it too. Okay, here's an album. It's a lot that's got to go on in between that point. So let's go back to the start, if you wouldn't mind, please. The story of until the lights go out, excuse me, it's creation. How far back do we have to go, or what stage did the first sparks come to life for that record?
I'd
Okay.
say we had like a couple songs that we played before, like before the hiatus, that when we reformed, we kind of slowly brought back into the rehearsal room, like let's play some of these riffs and see if we can make a song out of this. And we started with a couple of those. We started with a couple of those and a couple of older songs, just playing around with them. And well, he can tell. Timo can probably say more because he writes all the songs. So
Yeah, um, yeah, it's been a long process of making the debut album happen.
Hmm.
Uh, we started in 2008 and we had our first demo EP released in 2010. And in 2011 and 2014, we booked studio time and we were supposed to make a debut album. So we had two kind of albums, full length records full of songs. But both of those times when we were finished, I was like, I'm not happy with this. So they weren't released. And there's been a lot of songs. We have a lot of material, so there's just been a whole lot of material to come up for the debut album now. And a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the stuff is pretty old. One of the songs is like from 2007, 2008 or something. But then probably about half of the record is newer music.
Hmm.
But it's a long process. I have a lot of riffs on my cell phone and here and there, and I use them. And I guess at this point, I feel like we were ready. And now that the debut album is done, I know that it's really good, and I'm happy with it. And now I know, at least for me personally, I'm glad that we didn't release the last two records because this one is this. I want this one to be our debut album, and I'm happy.
It's been an incredible journey to get to this stage. So much has happened and so much
Yeah,
experienced, and the fact that it's a combination of the past and the future, the present as
yeah,
well, coming
yeah.
together, and obviously taking in your own abilities, both your own abilities of what you've learned and grown as artists as well. Jukka, talk to me about going to the older songs, the stuff that had been written, in those earlier days, and then taking what you do now and your abilities now, and then infusing that into them. How much fun was it?
It is a ton of fun. It's really because like my musical taste has changed a lot since we started. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of stuff that you've picked up from completely different genres of music that you can kind of sort of implement to metal and try to find something original ways to play. So it's not just the same skank beat every song. You kind of try to find something new to do. There is actually one song that we also recorded for the first ever release we made, Down with the Rain. That's also on this one. So I play mostly the same, but there's differences. I am definitely happier about the new release than the old one comparing now. So there's you can actually compare if you'd like to the old one and the new one.
Well, of course, I mean, you'd be disappointed in yourself if you hadn't, like, if you were playing and think, well, it sounds just like
Absolutely.
you haven't grown, but of course you would have done. Timo, what was the vision, like the early vision for the album, for the record? Did you have a clear idea of what you actually wanted to do, though? I mean, because you've got these, you've got, say, piles of riffs, you've got piles of half songs, quarter songs, whatever it is, but how does that become a record? Did you have a vision?
um, I'd like to say that I had a vision, but at the same time, yeah, to an extent, uh, uh, well, my vision was to bring a lot of good riffs and melodies together and make a great record out of them. But other than that, well, yeah, because there's a lot of material. Of course, I wanted everything to fit well so that the record doesn't sound like it's all over the place. But I
Hmm.
like the fact that I think that the record has a lot of different dimensions to it. That's something that I think is cool.
Well, considering that thought process, sticking to the early stages, particularly your vision, how experimental did you find yourself being in those early days? Did you find yourself setting any boundaries because you were thinking, okay, this doesn't sound like Freedomination?
Yeah, no, I've written all kinds of stuff, and I think that the two records that we kind of did that we haven't released, they were probably that was one thing about them. There was a lot of different kinds of things, and I think they were maybe a little bit too much all over the place compared to this one that we have now. And some of the music that I've done nowadays, I think that some of it doesn't fit our band. I don't want our band to be that. it doesn't mean it's bad. I might release some of this stuff with some other project or solo thing or whatever in the future, but for now, yeah.
You recognize, you understand that it doesn't fit Freedomination or what you want that to be. Jukka, sticking to the experimental side of things, from your drumming perspective, did you find yourself having to rein yourself in at any stage where you thought, okay, my abilities are this level and I want to add flair and style, but maybe it's not quite fitting and I need to scale it back a bit?
I feel like I try to leave that to the other guys. I play what I play, and once they tell me that's too much, that's like take it easy. That's we need something more consistent, something more simple, then I'll do that. But until then, I'll just go whatever my whatever comes up in my brain, I'll just play it, and if it's good, great. If they don't like it, then it's a democracy, so you know.
Of course, I would expect no different. But did you have any particular stage, any particular moment, sorry, where you found yourself challenged, where you pushed yourself in such a way that you surprised yourself?
Yeah, I would say I'm trying to think. There's probably I think there's been a lot of songs during the whole career of the band that almost every time I go into the studio, there's at least one song that's like, I'm not sure I can actually play this so that it sounds good, but it's a nice challenge to actually come up with something that actually sounds good and I can play. I think Until the Lights on this album might be one of those slightly more challenging to play things. Uh yeah, it's a little bit different from what I'm used to playing, so there's yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say about that. It's a little bit different for me.
But even with that challenge, something thoroughly enjoyable, right?
Absolutely. It's my favorite song to play probably off the album, so
Fabulous, fabulous. And the same kind of question towards you, Timo, but specifically from the early stages of your writing. How challenging were those early stages for you? And what were you kind of using as the inspiration, so to speak?
Okay. I think it's been pretty natural for me to write songs. I like writing songs, and of course, writing a great song is a little more difficult than writing a song that's like okay. So it takes time, and but inspiration is an important thing. One of the reasons I'm happy with some of my songs that I've written is because I listen to good bands. And because I listen to good bands, I get good inspiration. I recommend that to every musician. But yeah, there's I like a lot of music. I like a lot of metal and rock and some punk music and some progressive rock music. And there's been a lot of different influences. But in this band, probably especially the early stages, some of the main stuff is definitely Annihilator and Megadeth. And yeah, of course, from the traditional heavy metal, the British metal gods, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and so on.
Spread far and wide. Yes, there are familiar names, but the reason why they are such familiar names is because they are icons of
Yep.
the music scene. We all know that, of course. But sticking to that challenging aspect, I want to come back to that. Where did you find yourself, Timo, challenged? Where you pushed yourself in ways that you didn't expect?
On this album,
Yes, on this album specifically.
yeah, the biggest thing for me was the vocals. I was stressing a lot on we're going to this proper studio. We're it's been kind of a proper studio before, but I've been recorded by Tommy, our bass player. He recorded both of those earlier full-length records that weren't released. He recorded my vocals, and I was kind of pretty comfortable with that. But now I had a person who was completely outside of the band, and we're going into his studio, and we had some chats while we were recording guitars or drums and talking about some singers. And I don't remember what was said, but I just got nervous, like, what is this guy gonna think about my vocals when it's time to sing? But it went well, and I'm really happy. I'm happy with the vocals. I pushed myself to where I think that they're good vocals. And that was something that I wasn't so confident about. That am I gonna be able to sing in a way that it's gonna sound any good?
Absolutely. He
It's
sounds great on the album.
He does, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those fascinating things because, of course, when you start having a conversation, as we are right now, and you start mentioning, oh, what did we just do? We mentioned Maiden and Priest and all that, and we know how fabulous these bands are. We know the talents of someone like Rob Halford as a vocalist. You can't.
Mm,
It's almost unfair to compare yourself. It's
yeah.
not. It's not. It's unnecessary, but inevitably your mind just starts doing that.
Hmm.
Jukka, when you look at the entire album process, this new album process, the creative period from beginning to the very, very end, to the fact that we are at this point 2 days away from the release, what are some of your favorite moments, memories from the period?
From the whole period
Yeah, the
since we started.
entire, no, this specific album period, just focusing on this album from the very first time it started to become an album to now.
I think it's hard to pick specific moments. I think
Mm.
there's at least when we're recording in the studio, and it's always I hadn't been in the studio for a couple years when we went with this
Yeah.
album. So it's always a kind of we didn't do any kind of demos beforehand. We just played it at the rehearsal room and then went into the studio because it sounded good to us at the rehearsal room. So when you go to the studio and you actually start hearing the drum tracks you just played, like for the first time as like they're actually recorded with a good sound, it's actually really nice when the first track actually sounds good and you go, oh, okay, yeah. This is what we rehearsed. No need to demo apparently. So that was fantastic. Um, Other than that, I think it's just some of the songs when you come up with them in the rehearsal room, um, and they start falling in together, or whatever is the phrase in English when they start coming together.
Mm.
I think songs like Until the Lights Go Out and Raven, once they started feeling like this is actually a complete song and this actually doesn't need anything more, that's a really good feeling because when you find the songs, because everybody always has that song or two they love of an album. So so
Just
yeah,
those
those are
moments.
the great moments. Yeah.
There's moments of satisfaction. It's starting to come together. It's starting to look like it's done. It's starting to sound this way. They are fabulous moments. Timo, how about you, though? Focusing on Until the Lights Go Out in full, the beginning to the end, from your perspective, what were some of your favorite moments?
Well, of course, the songwriting process was cool. Just what Jukka talked about. We rehearsed the songs, and when they were coming together, and we started to feel like we have everything is done, we're ready to go to the studio. That was cool. But for the recording, I think, yeah, definitely I could raise the same thing about the vocal recordings. When I started to get comfortable with the vocals, and I got like positive comments, and I started feeling, okay, this is cool. Like I can do this. That was really cool. And hearing some of the, getting the first like mixes of the songs, and being like, holy shit, this is really good sounding stuff. That was great. Pekka Splendid Line did great job with the sounds for this record.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely did.
I'm glad you both have such positive feelings about the period and the challenges, the things that you may be worried about during it, whether it be vocals, whether it be well, just the development of the tracks, and whether, almost to a degree, does anybody still care, remember you out there, and to see it starting to come together and everybody really enjoying it. Because, of course, when you were last released music to now, the industry has changed so much to getting attention on you. You're screaming into the void sometimes, you know this. So it's almost moments where you're like, is anybody going to be paying attention? But clearly people are. So, individually, I'd love you both to answer this one, please. We'll start with you, Timo. What do you think this album says about Freedomination as you find yourself standing here in 2025?
I think it's a real heavy metal statement. Heavy metal is doing well in Finland, and we can do a really good heavy metal album that is. There's a lot of traditional elements to it, but I don't think that it sounds like retro. I think it's in a lot of ways it's modern, but it's definitely a big nod to the metal gods, all the old school metal bands. I think it's a strong statement of like here's our heavy metal. Check it out, and you know, let's see what you think.
Well said. How about you, Jukka?
Yeah, not to toot our own horn, but I feel like um it's an album that kind of shows that there's still some sort of originality to be found, in music. Because sometimes you kind of feel like it's all been done before, and even when we're playing stuff at the rehearsal room, it's always there's a little bit of, well, this might sound a little bit like the other band, but everything is always done before, so it's fine. But I think we did a good job making something that doesn't sound exactly like anything else. It's there's originality to be found.
Well said. And even if everything has been done as we know, as long as you're doing it bloody well, it doesn't matter because that's all that matters.
Yep.
Sticking with you, Jukka, what would success for the album look like to you?
Success? Oh, that's a hard one. I
Mm.
guess I guess it's just whoever hears the album feels like this is a good album. That's pretty much what I hope. Which so far, anyone I've played the songs to, friends and family and stuff, they've all enjoyed it. Although they're my friends, so they'd be biased,
They're
but
scared
still.
of you.
That's right, yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. For anyone who hears the album to feel like this isn't a pointless album. This is a good creative original work that is it's a good thing these guys made it.
Well said. How about you, Timo? Do you have a different level measure of success?
That was a good talking point. A good view. For me, I guess it's pretty similar. Um, for me, yeah, success is the fact that we did a great record that we can stand behind, and of course, we're hoping that people will find out the album and will listen to it and will think that it's good. I hope for more good reviews and hopefully getting to play some gigs with the record and yeah, basically having a nice ride with this one until we go to the studio next time.
Yeah, I mean, loads of cash would help, of course. If it sells really well, that's a bonus.
Of course, ideally, that would be ideal. Yes, not only to let you enjoy the rockstar lifestyle, but to ensure that you can continue to make music as you go forward. Because Until the Lights Go Out is an incredible album. You should be very proud of what you've done. I know you are very proud, but from my perspective, I hope, from my perspective, that you do feel that way, and hopefully, it's expressed as the year goes on. Because the album's not even out at this time of recording. We have a long way to enjoy this journey. Speaking of which, then looking at the bigger 2025 picture. It is only February, and we have another 10 months to go. Individually, please, we'll start with you, Timo. What's a realistic goal you would like to achieve before this year is over?
Uh, Play a lot of gigs.
Yep.
That's my goal for the band. I want to play gigs, and I want to have the songwriting process so that we are continuing for uh, writing songs for the next album. And we've been doing that already, but I hope that that process will go further through the year. Those
Just
are my goals.
get out, play live, write music. Really, really straightforward, but completely reasonable as well. Duke, you've got anything to add there? What's your feelings?
It's hard to come up with anything else to add. That's what
Yeah.
the band is all about, playing shows and writing music. So hopefully we get to do that by the end of the year a bunch.
Yeah, Europe's there for you. Hopefully, further afield if those opportunities arise. A little bit late for festival season. It's pretty much booked up all over the countries, but maybe into 2026 as well. I can't wait to see what comes. I really can't wait to see what comes, but I also can't wait to see the response slowly for the album Until the Lights Go Out. It is, of course, out on February 26th. Timo, Jukka, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Oh,
very much.
absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.